everyone, welcome back to Real Patriot Patty. I'm your host Patty, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience of the event with Riley Gaines where she spoke about women's rights and her experience of having to compete in a women's sport with a biological male, Lia Thomas, at the NCAA Championship. The issue now for women of having to compete with biological males, not only in sports as in Riley's case, but in everything we do and everywhere we go, is truly crucial. We as women need to stand up against allowing biological males to overtake us as a real biological woman. Who would have ever thought that we would need to be defining what a man is, what a woman is, and left Democrats not knowing what a woman is, stating that anybody who feels like a woman can be a woman? No, a biological woman is a biological woman, and a biological male is a biological male. You can never turn a biological male into a woman. A man is a man and a woman is a woman, despite the fact that the woke left Democrats try to say there's over 100 genders at this point, and whatever you feel like is what you can be. That is not the case. Biology is biology, and how God created us with an X chromosome, a Y chromosome, a female, and a male. God created us in his own image, and the fact that we need to have this conversation and explain the basics of biology and science to people is truly unbelievable. But I'm so glad that I got to see Riley Gaines last night. I'm going to be telling you briefly about the event and what she said, which was very meaningful, and also my reflection on this and diving deep into the issue of why we as women now have less rights than ever before, despite the fact that feminists in theory say, oh, we are for women's rights. They actually aren't, because where are the feminists? Where are the feminists where now we have biological male, like in Riley's case, competing in men's sports, but also overtaking our locker rooms, our bathrooms, our jobs? Everything we see now is being infiltrated and indoctrinated with brainwashing and manipulating people to thinking this is normal. This is mental illness. This isn't normal. I'm so glad that I got to go to this event to share it with you. And most important of all, this is the topic that I'm so passionate about, of explaining to people why we as women need to stand up for ourselves and fight against this wokeness and nonsense, indoctrination, brainwashing, and mental illness. So last night, March 20th, 2024, I got to attend an event where Riley Gaines was a speaker. She spoke about her story, her life, her being a swimmer, and there are a few things that were really admirable about Riley. First, of course, she was very kind and sweet, brave, courageous. She spoke about God. She spoke about all of the challenges and difficulties she has faced standing up for what is biologically and logically right. Most important of all, she was talking about dedication and sacrifice, how it related to her life of training her whole life for a championship with countless hours of practice, of swimming in the swimming pool, of missing out on prom and missing out on family vacations, dedicating her whole life to her passion and her sport. It was so inspiring and encouraging, and it really made me think how all of us work so hard to achieve our goals. And in 1 second, something that is fundamentally, biologically, spiritually wrong gets stripped away from you because of mental illness, brainwashing, and indoctrination of allowing a biological male to compete with a woman. Can you imagine waking up every day at 5 a.m. and training many hours every single day, 7 days a week, swimming in pools, eating a specific diet, having a specific sleep schedule, exercising a specific amount of days per week, not being able to participate in social activities, having to travel all around America since you're a little girl up until you're a grown woman, just so you can fulfill your passion for your sport with all the hard work and dedication you've put into it. And then that all gets taken away from you by a biological male, a man who is tall and bigger than you with more muscles, yet who never got to win championships and was always last, somehow now gets to be number one and gets the trophy. Riley also touched on the uncomfortable subject of having to change with a biological man with a bulge in the girls' locker room prior to the event. Now, I cannot imagine undressing in front of a biological man with a bulge with male genitalia still intact in the locker room and pretending that that is normal. I cannot believe that any of these women and girls went through all of that Nobody should ever go through that. It is a violation of a person's rights, a violation of your space. And I cannot imagine how it makes you feel, especially for Riley, who won the championship, but the trophy was given to a biological man. While she worked her whole life to get to this point, it was all taken from her. And despite the fact that it was very difficult and it brought a challenge, but I am so glad that God chose her to be able to stand up for women's rights, specifically in women's sports, but in general. So today I'm going to be talking about how this women's rights issue relates to politics that she touched on in her speech as well, and why this is so important. So all the way from the top government to now Biden's administration in the White House, to schools, to major corporations, to businesses, to social media, to fake news. We see this mental illness being pushed everywhere. It is to strip away women's rights and replace biological women with biological men because they feel and identify as they are women. This is the biggest women's rights crisis we are facing. We hear feminists talk about, oh, it's my body, my choice. I can get an abortion and kill a baby in my womb anytime I want. We want to be equal to men. We want to have the same opportunity to be able to get jobs as men and get paid the same. This is what you're fighting for, and you are calling yourself a feminist while we have biological men competing in women's sports. We have biological men replacing women in all different types of categories, not just sports. And my question is, where are the feminists? Where are feminists standing up for the fact that in Planet Fitness you have a biological male entering the women's locker room? Where are the feminists where you have Riley Gaines, a professional, amazing athlete swimmer, winning the championship and the trophy is given to a biological male? Where are you feminists when now everything is being changed against women? What we are called no longer mothers but birth givers. We are now having to say we are biological women, not women because biological men are becoming women. Where are women defining this? This is the most important issue of actual feminism, not made up brainwashing, indoctrinated feminism of women sleeping around, of women becoming men, of women entering the workplace and leaving behind their femininity and family and having children and actual important things in life. Where are you feminists? The most important thing in this case is to realize how the government that controls everything, how the White House, so the Biden administration, and this, by the way, started with the Biden administration. Have you ever noticed that? For the last 3 years since they took over, everything has gone mad. Everything is changing around us from being normal to mentally ill. We have now schools teaching children LGBTQ. We have them reading sex books. We have pride flags hanging in classrooms. We have corporate America making banners and creating events for more inclusivity, for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have now social media promoting degeneracy, mental illness, transgenderism, LGBTQ content, and fake news media pushing this narrative. We are being attacked from everywhere. This is all against women, all against femininity, all against family. It is meant to destroy people mentally and destroy the family, because when you have no God, no family, and you do not know who you are, of course, either a man or a woman, it is so easy to manipulate you, control you, and indoctrinate you with everything you see, everything you touch, everything you purchase, everything that is around you. Which is why this is so crucial for women to stand up against, because this is our civil rights. This is our biological rights as women. People in the West tend to say that women in the Middle East are oppressed. Women in the Middle East, for example, in Dubai, have separate entries, separate bathrooms, separate public places, and they get to be women. There is never any confusion who is a man and who is a woman. So we're calling them oppressed. Meanwhile, they are literally, the Democrats and the woke left are stripping away your basic rights of being a woman, of putting biological men everywhere and calling them women, of degrading women, of taking away everything that makes a woman, the ability of children. We are calling mothers birth givers. The one most beautiful thing that God blessed women with is the ability to have children. And instead of having children, women are having abortions because they want to become boss babes, because they're selfish. They want to make money and have a career. Well, guess what? Majority of women will not have a career. It's a job. unless you really make it high. And when you do, you're sacrificing everything else. Because when you hit around 50 years old, nobody's going to want you anymore. Those things are going to be irrelevant. Your career is going to be long gone because you're going to be replaced with a younger version of what you used to be. And instead of focusing on finding a good husband, a man to have in your life, to be happy with, to have children with, to build a family, to build this beautiful life that you can for yourself, you're chasing everything except what you're supposed to. So you're calling women in the Middle East oppressed while you have your basic rights stripped away from you, of having biological men use the women's bathrooms or locker rooms or gym facilities or taking your jobs or whatever the case may be. This is unacceptable. Where are the feminists? I cannot believe that even one woman in the whole world would agree with this. The mental illness, the degeneracy of this generation, the indoctrination and brainwashing through media, social media, and everything around us has truly ruined our society, especially women. Now, an important topic that I want to discuss that Riley mentioned was related to Title IX. The woke left and the Democrats truly want to take away all women's rights. President Joe Biden and his administration is the one that is changing Title IX. President Joe Biden released an executive order preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, which states all persons should receive equal treatment under the law no matter the gender identity or sexual orientation. According to the order, laws that prohibit sex discrimination, including Title IX, prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, so as long as the laws do not contain sufficient indications to the contrary. This is stating that a biological man, if he identifies because he feels that he is a woman, he is now able to identify and become a woman. That means you are going to have biological men competing in women's sports because a man says that he feels like a woman. So despite the fact that he's a biological male, he now identifies as a woman. So it would be discriminatory not to include them on whatever activity that is. This is the ruling from this current administration. This is how the woke left Democrats and this administration gaslight people. Kamala Harris, supposed to be in charge of the border, instead of visiting the border, goes to visit abortion clinics. And she's stating that we are standing up for women's rights. You are literally stripping away from women's rights. You are standing up for women's rights to their own reproductive system by encouraging women to get abortions so they do not have children, so our society heads to a collapse. And instead of focusing on having nurture and feminine feelings and raising future generations, children and family, you're encouraging them to become boss babes, do not have children, get abortions. And we are supposed to be for women's rights, but we are going to strip away Title IX that protects women in women's sports and now allow biological males who identify based on their sexual orientation and how they feel. That is absurd. We need to stand up against this. I cannot believe we even need to be having a conversation on what a man is, what a woman is, and that there's only two genders, an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. There isn't 100 of them. You're either a man or a woman. And the fact that we need to define what a woman is, despite the fact that Democrats are unable to define what a woman is so insulting. Again, I'm so grateful that I got to go to this event and see Riley and hear her speak. She brought up really amazing points, not only related to her own journey and winning, but giving the trophy to a biological man, but really encouraging young girls and women to step up, to stand up and fight against taking the basic rights of women. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about because it is crucial for people to understand how fake news media manipulates you, how the government creates bills and policies and titles and executive order that impact your life, how now women have to not only fight for the basic rights of being a woman, of being identified as a woman. We now have to compete with biological men saying that they're women and physically compete with biological men as well. This is unacceptable. How can there be even one woman in the world believing this? Where are the feminists standing up for the issue? This is such an important topic. We women now have less rights today than we ever have before. Who would have thought that we ever would compete with biological men in women's sports? Who would have thought that people would not know what a woman is? That there would be 100 different genders? There are 100 different ways to identify yourself that media and social media would be using Hollywood celebrities and pushing their agenda with their filthy, dirty money to change the basic rights of women. We need to stand up against this, and I'm so glad that Riley Gaines is one of the women who does that. It was truly such an amazing experience. It really made me think of other ways how this mental illness is being promoted amongst all people in the world and how we need to stand up against it. As always, thank you so much for watching. May God bless you. May God bless America, and I'll see you in my next episode.